Okay, so D850 facts that nobody else is talking about, reporting on, that are actually really important. This is an important video. Excuse the mess on this table, but I'm repairing a couple of really old lenses. So, exactly what I said a year ago, always stick with your original instincts, which were 100% accurate, that it is a full-frame version of the Nikon D500. Most importantly, this has the exact same pixel pitch as the Nikon D500. It absolutely has less dynamic range than the Nikon D810, this new Nikon D850. I assume it's going to be as endlessly speculated for release in October. One thing I didn't mention in the prior video is that it is XQD and SD cards. It will not be dual XQD cards. The fact that it is the exact same pixel pitch means we'll have less dynamic range. It will be identical dynamic range to the Nikon D500, which means for landscape and portrait photography, the Nikon D810 will remain superior, where autofocus speed and tracking are unimportant in most portrait photography. Not for wedding photography where the ceremony is going on. You do have to track some action. It will be very useful for that. The Nikon D810 will actually reign at basically $2,000 less than this Nikon D850. Another important factor is that the quiet mode, as stated by Nikon on the Nikon D850, will be 30 frames per second with 8 megapixel image. So you're talking about a pseudo electronic shutter, basically live view photography. But we're talking about contrast detect autofocus. So the longest duration is 3 seconds. It'll be shooting in DX mode with a quality of 8 megapixels. So I have basically a live view shooting mode with 30 frames per second, but you're going to be staring at the back of a damn LCD screen. And so, you know, anybody that's familiar with mirrorless, I mean, they would actually think that would be quite a joke. Still, it's an improvement, but I mean, it is what it is, which is not that great. Rich touch functions, more so than the Nikon D5 and D500. Hold on, I've got some really important specifications I'm getting to here that no one else is talking about. What this means is that, like the Nikon D500, which actually has shutter release, this one actually have autofocus and another live view function. But it'll also, very importantly, people were asking for is menu scrolling. Even though the Nikon D500 has a touch screen, you still have to use the buttons for scrolling through the menu, so this will have touch scrolling. So that will be integrated on this. Not that that helps anything as far as photography. Nikon states the obvious, that it'll be suitable for shooting jewelry and specimen photography, meaning macro, and landscape. But what they don't state is that the Nikon D810 would still be superior to it for shooting landscape photography. However, this would be better than the Nikon D810 since it is the exact same pixel pitch as the Nikon D500 for doing a cropping in of landscape photography, portrait photography, and also macro photography, but with less dynamic range. As I stated before in the prior video, that this camera, at the very minimum, there's no way it's going to be $3,600. It's going to be $3,800 from all indication based upon confirmed pricing from another country. That with the vertical grip, that will be right around $4,200 plus, no less than $4,100 and over $4,200. That's with the vertical grip, because this camera, unlike other Nikons, does not have the full capabilities released unless you have the damn vertical grip. Some people don't understand this. They think, well, why the hell do you need the vertical grip for an additional 2 frames per second? Well, for sports action wildlife photographers, I mean, that's incredibly important. I mean, if I had a camera, there's that millisecond of a moment, like when a skier comes over a cliff, or you know, when something you know is about to happen, and the time span on it's going to be like that. You want as many frames as possible. So the people making those ignorant comments just do not understand hardcore fast action, sports action, and wildlife. Let's see, grip, you have 4100. Negative 4 EV on the center point, which is identical to the Nikon D5. Negative 3 EV everywhere else, which is also like the Nikon D500. So this will be like a dream camera for sports action and wildlife. As I've stated before in countless videos, the one thing that I keep having to tell other people is that when they talk about something, I have to say, well, compared to what? Well, this lens is great. You know, I've got 5 lenses. Well, compared to what? You've only got 5 lenses. How the hell do you know it's any good? So the answer is, The question to answering something about the Nikon D850 is we have to say compared to what? With a vertical grip, the Sony A9 doesn't come with a vertical grip. And I tested the Sony A9. The Sony A9 is 30% really awesome for outdoor shooting, but 70% horrible. The ergos are horrible, the glass is horrible. It's just a horrible camera. But 30% of it is really, really incredible and impressive. So with the vertical grip, $4,200, it's $300 less than the damn Sony A9. Compared to its competition, I mean, it'll blow the pants off of it. And it's obviously not going to have any pissing about with banding issues. And there's not going to be any pissing about with overheating issues with the Nikon D850, like there is with the Sony. I said XQD card and SD card. So D850 is going to be an awesome camera. At the same time, this camera will be very unique, and it will be by itself, in and of itself, compared to other DSLRs. Blows the hell out of everything Canon has, for sure. I mean, Canon's been dragging its butt now for, what, the past 2-3 plus years. Blow the hell out of everything Canon has. Sony has nothing to compare to it. Neither does Fuji. I mean, the glass ecosystem by Nikon is unmatched. Nikon knows this when it comes to pro, sports, action, wildlife. Everybody, you know, I've got 6 mirrorless cameras, for Christ's sakes, but there's nobody using mirrorless cameras in hardcore sports, action, wildlife. Nikon knows this. Canon and Nikon own this arena. Nikon prides itself on pro photographers using their stuff. I mean, this is undeniable, and they still own it all. Nikon could still come out and announce a mirrorless camera later this year for obviously releasing next year, but I mean, the Nikon D850 is both by itself an impressive camera, but given the fact that this is their 100th anniversary, it's also at the same time a big meh camera, and it is a big letdown. So it's an impressive camera that is at the same time also a disgusting letdown, and I'm not the only person that said that. A lot of people have said that. So it's the exact same pixel pitch, so it's going to have less dynamic range than the Nikon D810. So anybody that wants to grab a Nikon D810 now would be a great idea, or, you know, take advantage of other people's ignorance right now that are ditching their Nikon D810s on eBay or whatnot, not knowing the fact that, you know, for landscape and portraiture, the Nikon D810 will still be a superior camera, specifically with respect to dynamic range. Don't need hardcore buffer and autofocus tracking and autofocus acquire and tracking on a landscape / portraiture camera, obvious reasons. Final conclusions on this: Nikon went full out lame on this. It's their 100th anniversary. Nikon could still recover from this, you know, this mess by announcing, they've already said they're going to make a pro mirrorless camera, announcing it later this year, but that means it won't be released until at the very earliest March of 2018. I said I'd be the first person to bitch about the Nikon D850 if it was, you know, just a pumped up Nikon D810, which is exactly what the hell this camera is. It does have silent shutter, it does have some really nice features, a 0.75 magnification on the viewfinder, so it'll have the largest viewfinder of any conventional reflex mirror DSLR. You know, that's great, that's wonderful, but, you know, this still is a mess. Everybody was saying over on other boards, not in my comments, that, you know, oh, well, at least this camera is less than $4,000. Well, no, it's not. It's more than $4,000. Anybody that's going to spend $3,800 on a damn camera is going to want to unlock those additional features and the higher buffer rate by purchasing the by buying the vertical grip. Most importantly, I might remind you that the battery that goes in this, the EL18A battery, is an expensive damn battery. Really expensive. It's an expensive battery. It costs more than twice that much of an EL15 battery. So this camera is oxymoronic. I mean, it is a living paradox, duality. Excuse me. It's paradoxical in that, you know, anybody that takes it for what it is compared to the competition, I mean, it blows the hell out of Canon. Obviously, it blows the hell out of Sony. Not even to mention the glass for it, but at the same time, it is a stinking letdown. It's an awesome camera that is also a stinking letdown. I think those are the truest words that can be said about this camera. So anybody that's been like holding with their butt clenched for this camera, for portraiture and landscape, Nikon D810 has better dynamic range. This is just a scaled up, exact, identical, same pixel pitch to the Nikon D500. I think I've been saying for a year and a half, other than the speculation, about it being a hybrid EVF system about 3 weeks ago. I have been now for well over a year been saying that it will be a pumped up full frame version of the Nikon D500. I've been consistent with that over the past year and a half. And that is exactly what it is. And for the 100th anniversary, they could have done more than that. But they may still roll out a mirrorless camera. But one thing is really important. The takeaway, the most important thing at the end of this video right now, is that when I gave the Nikon D5 down the road, I said it was just a disaster, a fiasco. It's a horrible abortion of a camera for $6,500. The Nikon D850 specifications confirm that. If there's only 2 cameras in the world, only 2. See, this has no AA filter, by the way. Okay? The Nikon D5 has not only is a 20 megapixel camera with an AA filter. This, by the way, also has the exact same autofocusing system as the Nikon D5. If there are only 2 cameras in the world, the D850, let's say with the vertical grip, for $4,200, let's say $4,500. For $2,000 more, the Nikon D5 is foobar, is by comparison. I mean, anybody that thought the Nikon D5 was a pretty chick, if you eliminate everybody in the world, the D850 specifications and what the camera will be compared to the Nikon D5, the D5 is really everything I said it was well over a year ago. I mean, it's just a flat out, you know, cross-eyed chick with sexually transmitted diseases by comparison to the D850 for $2,000 less money. So one thing that people have not been mentioning in all their excitement over the Nikon D850 is, you know, when you compare now that we know the specifications of the Nikon D850 to the Nikon D5, you have to tell yourself, holy crap, you know, that fat tattooed dude, you know, I finally see what he was saying about the Nikon D5. D5 is, it has to be obsoleted by next year. It would have to be. Probably going to replace it with a Nikon D5S. Same way they did like Nikon D3, Nikon D3S, Nikon D4, then the Nikon D4S. We're going to have the Nikon D5S, which will probably have the exact same sensor. Cost, instead of $6,500, it'll cost $7,500. Actually, honestly, I think Nikon is in trouble. This is a wonderful camera by itself. Like I said, at the same time, it's just a pissy, stinking letdown. I think Nikon is actually in trouble in more ways than one. Not only in ye old bank account, but in their failure to innovate. But from Nikon's perspective, considering the fact that they still do own and rule over as Lord hardcore sports action and wildlife, from their perspective, I don't know if they really give a damn. And Nikon has always been a company, when they even did have money, that they didn't really give a damn. Like, we're the Nikon. We are Nikon. We are the best. You know, everybody else can kiss our butts. It is a privilege for you to buy one of our cameras. Nikon is acting exactly like IBM and some other too big to fail companies. And but this camera is awesome by itself. Obviously, I will be forced to buy one, be forced to acquire one to do testing and reviews. So that'll be slightly depressing, but not really. I mean, it'll be a wonderful camera that I will enjoy, but at the same time, you know, Nikon is going to squeeze every last ounce out of every little stinking frickin', you know, half-measure upgrade that they can. And this camera is over $4,000 because nobody's going to buy this camera. Well, there might be a few, but seriously, for sports action, nobody's going to buy this camera and not buy the vertical grip, since the full features are not unlocked unless you buy the damn vertical grip. You go $3,800, you're going to go another $500 for the grip. That's just the way it is. Nikon knows this. I know this. Now you know this. Thank you so much for watching. If you like these videos, you can make a small contribution. Tell me to jump off a cliff. Whatever makes you happy. I just got done fixing this lens, and it smells like someone's dirty butt. Even after cleaning it, it still smells like someone's dirty butt. This is quality. This lens is as good as new as it was 70 plus years ago when it was made. Thanks to me, the lens fixer. Thanks for watching. Bye.